Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about companion planting. Most backyard gardeners are companion planters, whether we know it or not. We just don't usually assign ourselves that title, but we grow most of our plants in close proximity to each other and a lot of times sharing beds. I can tell you what I just did and what I've done and what I will continue to do with a few of these beds. I plant cucamelons, beans, sunflowers, zinnias, squash, nasturtiums. All of those go in the same bed. Beans are in a different bed, but same concept. I plant those all together because it is companion planting, but it's also saving on space. Now I could cut out the flowers and I could be a lot more productive with my things, where I could put a dwarf tomato or something like that. There's no need to do that. Especially, I don't have tons of space, but I have a little bit of space. So I preserve tomatoes for my other beds to where I know that they got more compost. Yeah, companion planting is really easy. Companion planting can be used for a multitude of things. It can be used to deter pests, to be a trap crop, which I tried it last year. I inadvertently tried it last year, and it does work. I had squash bug in the same bed that I'm talking about. The squash bugs were not only on, and this is, I think, is a mixed conception, that the pests will only be on the trap crop. No, they're not only going to be on the trap crop. They're going to make their way to some of your actual crops, but it won't be so bad to where it kills it as quick, to where you can at least get somewhat of a harvest. With companion planting, yeah, there's no like set table chart that you can use. Gardening is not that simple. You can plant anything with just about anything, in my opinion, and from what I've found, you can really plant anything with anything. Now there are some things that you should probably avoid planting together. Not avoid. There are probably some things that probably would benefit a little bit better from being away from each other. Potatoes and tomatoes and carrots, for example. The tomatoes and the potatoes both have bigger root systems, obviously. The carrots probably wouldn't thrive in that because the roots would choke them out. Same thing with planting the potatoes and the tomatoes together. The roots would ultimately, they would just be clashing for space. So you'd get a weak tomato and probably a weak potato, or a week of both, and that's cutting back on your harvest. So when I'm companion planting, I will do all of, not those specifically, but I will try a bunch of different things, to where I have things growing together that might seem a little unconventional, but that's okay. Another way that I companion plant, I put marigolds in with my tomatoes. I didn't know this was a thing. I know it kept away pests, but I didn't know that it would completely eradicate your tomato hornworms. And last year I had no tomato hornworms. The past years before that, I had them not really bad, but I'd had them enough to where it was at least damaging my crops to some degree. And I didn't have that last year, and I was really, really shocked. But I liked it, and I loved that. And also goes back to my marigold video, which I'm currently filming right after the other one, but it's not going to come out in that order. So yeah, companion planting is a really good idea. Especially if you're limited on space like I am, and most backyard gardeners are. We don't have tons of space that we can just dedicate to whatever by itself. We companion plant, whether we know it or not, like I said. Right now I have a bed with cabbage and zinnias. Cabbage still had 2 months, and the zinnias will flower within a month, giving me a month of blooms, give or take a little bit, obviously. But that is a way for me to companion plant, to where I don't have half the bed just sitting empty. I am using that bed to the benefit of something else, something that's going to bring joy. Now, once those are done, there's going to be corn planted in behind that, and then behind the corn it's going to be beans. So sometimes that's what no, I'm not going to say that's how your companion planting can look sometimes, because that's not companion planting. That is actually succession planting, which we will be going over a lot on the channel because I'm trying to be more productive with my things. So yeah, sometimes succession planting is pulling those things out, but let's not get into this early. That requires its own video. But I can also 100% guarantee that companion planting is very, very similar. Okay, my beds, for example, my squash, my arch trellis beds, my squash, my zucchini, my squash, my beans, what's some other things? Nasturtiums, zinnias, sunflowers, all of those things are grown together in a bed. Now, they all offer different services to the bed, ultimately. The nasturtiums work as a trap crop for the squash bugs, which it does work. We just have squash bugs really, really bad. And we also, now when planting the sunflowers, I really like sunflowers, and I'll go over that in a video sometime sooner or later, or in a blog post. I'll have my link tree below if you want to check that out. But all of those things are super, super helpful because it offers different times. You have the nasturtiums typically blooming second, I'd say. I really can't remember last year. The zinnias are really quick to bloom, then the nasturtiums, and then the sunflowers also. But you can also add different heights, so you're adding different dimensions to your beds. Then the cucamelons are going to be long seasons. So they're going to produce from when they start producing all the way until the end. They're not going to stop. So that's leaving that space set. Now, the zucchini and the squash will eventually succumb to the squash bugs, which is fine. The nasturtiums will also be torn out and be thrown to the chickens because I don't need the squash bugs being attracted to that. Except for this year, I'm going to try to save seeds. So I will be marking flowers and things like that. And then when we go on to a few other things, the zinnias are nice cut flowers. I really enjoy the cut flowers for that area because it just gives something new. It gives a little bit more color. Also, zinnias are just really nice, and they're really just like a placeholder because I really enjoy them. For that reason, I like interplanting my beds because nature isn't just going to grow in one way. I like spreading and spacing everything out differently and just throwing some things together. You will see that I have some things that are not companion planted. Those things are not companion planted for not reasons, but I am growing a lot of things in kiddie pools, so that means that I am already limited on space with those, but I am growing those things specifically in kiddie pools so I don't need to worry about them being choked out by something else, or if I'm trying them, like this year I'm trying ground cherries. I'm going to be trying the ground cherries, and those are going to be grown in a kiddie pool. If I don't like them, I'll probably plant a squash or a zucchini or something like that. Or pumpkins, things like those. Things like that. Not those. Those specific things are going to be grown in the kiddie pool, or if I'm trying to get something else to save seeds from. That really is what that is. More of my vining things, so they're not taking up much of my bed space. It's still raining. But that's what my plan is for the beds. So some things will not be companion planted. You don't need to companion plant your whole garden. Companion plant a bit of your garden, and you can also maximize your spaces, make them more efficient. Another way that I'm companion planting, which I should have mentioned earlier, my tomato walls go up and they kind of teepee at the top to each other, and once the tomatoes get that big, it's a perfect little area to grow things that don't like the sun. So I'm going to be trying to grow spinach and lettuce because those things don't particularly like the heat, and it's going to be so much cooler in between that area. So that's going to be really nice to have there because it's obviously not what it needs per se, but it's going to better meet those needs. And if it works, I'm just maximizing that space because there's a big space in between those beds that's unused. and that is not what you want in gardening. So I will be doing some things, or I will be growing basil that can stick out or whatever. But in a nutshell, that is companion planting. If you want to know anything else on that, I will have a blog post going up probably the day before this video goes out, because I upload blogs on Sunday. So whenever this is going out, I'll make sure it's scheduled for a Monday. Try to, if I remember, and I will have it scheduled for the day before. Or if not, you can just go onto my blog and type in companion planting. I can also have a link down below if I remember to do that, which I should. But that really is companion planting in a nutshell. It's very easy. Most gardeners do it, whether we know it or not. Companion planting is super easy. So if you have space, or you're low on space and you're wondering how you can best maximize your spaces, that is a really great way to do that, is companion planting. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.